All right, Rochelle, looks like we're all here. I'll let people in as they continue to come, and you're welcome to kick us off.
Yes, thank you so much, Luca. And I wanted to say welcome to everyone. Appreciate you all and appreciate your patience while we let you in. This is great. Let me see who's here. Let me see who's here. Okay, excellent. See Michelle, Ashley, Leah, Nicholas, and Teresa. Welcome, 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 everyone. I already said good morning to Juliet, Luca, and Paul,
Good
and
morning.
Elizabeth. Good morning. Excellent. So we have a nice size group too, because maybe we can be a little more interactive than one would expect from a webinar. Okay. So my name is Rochelle Peterson-Ansari. Oh, good morning. Good morning. I'm Rochelle Peterson-Ansari. I am the CEO of Perceptions Unlimited. Apologize. One. Sorry. I am the CEO of Perceptions Unlimited, and I'm also an adjunct faculty member at LaSalle University and have been adjunct for Arcadia University since 2007. Taking a little break right now. However, have not taken a break from supervising student teachers. And so today's workshop or webinar is entitled Innovation in Teacher Education, Integrating Pennsylvania CRSE Competencies into Student Teaching. So in our short time together, excuse me, I will share my experiences integrating the CRSE competencies into an undergraduate and graduate student teaching field course. We're going to discuss the adaptations and additions to the learning outcomes, the assignments, the critical role of personal reflection, and assessment of the student teacher's cultural competence and collaboration with placement partners and seminar instructors. Now, I understand different institutions address student teaching or approach student teaching in different ways. Just so you know, my context is in my context at LaSalle University, we have student teachers have a seminar with one instructor, and then they have their individual university supervisors who go into the field, observe them, and assess their performance for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Yes? Okay, great. Now I'm toggling screens to see your faces, so I just want to make sure I can see everybody. Excellent. Let me give you. All right. Now I have all of you. Okay, good stuff. Okay. Our legacy. I like to share my vision because I think my context matters when I'm talking about what the kind of work that I'm trying to do in the world, in the educational institutions, and so forth. So I actually have a vision to leave a legacy of directly touching the lives of 1 million people, preferably educators, who will then impact 1 billion people so that when I'm gone from this earth, every every student from preschool to professional school has a culturally competent educator at every level of their education. Okay, preschool, first grade, second grade, and so on. Yes, and with that, we will be helping to reduce to eradicate different forms of oppression that have seeped into our educational processes, particularly the institutions. Okay. What you see in front of you is an image of me as a young girl. Anybody love my little my afro, my fro. I grew up in the 70s, yes. So when people ask me about myself, I tell them that my story is about living between bright lights and broken glass. My story is one of living between, of those bright lights and broken glass. When I was younger, I was tapped on the shoulder for a lot of privileges, educational privileges, that is, that many people in my neighborhood didn't have. Tap one, skip the eighth grade. Tap two, go to private school for free. And every day I walked into that Quaker's private school through unlocked doors, greeters at the door, onto the carpeted floors with an elevator that had an attendant, y'all. And tap three, somebody knew somebody at a college in central Pennsylvania. Apply there. Tap four, the letter came saying, we're pleased to offer you admission to Bucknell University. But wait, I used to ask myself, why me? On my way to school in Brooklyn, New York, I stepped over lots of broken glass. On my way back home, there was more glass, bulletproof glass, locked doors, gray concrete floors, and an elevator, but no attendant. So I wondered why the bright light seemed so white and the broken glass seemed so brown. So why me? I still don't know. But I do know that I had to take those taps on the shoulder and do some tapping of my own. And so here I am, 35 plus years later, still tapping, not asking why me anymore, but why not you too? So I gave you a little glimpse of who I am because I believe that we teach who we are. And I firmly believe that, right? That in the work that we're doing to get people culturally competent starts with us. So the very first competency, right, asks you to reflect on your own cultural lens. And I found that that educators who do this, who have a greater success connecting to students and their families and understanding that there's no one way to be, learn, and thrive. So before we go any further, please introduce yourselves with your full name, institution, and your role, and either the meaning of your first, middle, or last name, or how you got that name. Okay. And since we have a nice, tight group here, I'm just going to ask us to do that aloud. Okay. So your name, role in your institution, role in your institution, and the meaning of, or how you got your first, middle, or last name. And I will start with Luca, since you've been here longer. I don't want to give everybody else a minute. Look,
Sure, thank
Nicholas is
you.
like, whoa, okay.
And if you want your story to be not recorded, you can just chat me and I'll pause the recording before you share.
Thank you.
My name is Luca Poxon. I am the project coordinator of what is now called the Pennsylvania Teacher Education CRSE Initiative. Did I say that right, Juliet? Informally, the CRSE Community of Practice. And I work from Temple University. And my first name is Luca, and I chose it because I'm trans and I get to do that. I will pass to Juliet.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Juliet Kersey, Assistant Dean of College Access and Persistence at Temple University. And my maiden name that I identified with for quite some time is Dileo, D-I-L-E-O, and it means of the lion in Italian. And it's believed that that was shortened from De Leonardi, with my great-grandparents who emigrated from Italy.
Nice.
And I'll pass it to Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Sylvester. I'm from Westchester University. I coordinate the urban teacher track here, and I supervise student teachers in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And Paul, can you pass it to someone? That'll be the easiest way to do this. Yes. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Teresa?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Teresa Powell, Chair of the Education Department at Lincoln University. My father has said that my name derived from a nurse. When I was born, her name was Teresa Yannette, and that's what my family named me.
Can you pass it?
Certainly, I'm sorry. Leah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Bustrand. I'm the Director of Student Teaching and Certification Officer at Immaculata University. And my name was my mom's first name and my grandmother's middle name.
Thank you.
Nice to meet everyone.
Yes. Can you pass it?
And Nicholas?
Everyone, I'm Nick Emanuel. I'm a 9th and 10th grade English teacher in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm an adjunct lecturer at Gannon University. So I'm working with the team at Gannon to implement the competencies. I am named after the character from the TV show 8 is Enough. So I got nothing real fun on that one, perhaps lighthearted. And also, if I disappear throughout, I'm still working and teaching today, so I might need to pop in and out. So I will be here, but if I don't respond, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just addressing some other things while I'm not proud.
Know your life. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Pass.
Michelle, can we jump to you?
Hi, my name is Michelle Sobolak. I'm at the University of Pittsburgh, where I direct teacher education. My middle name, I can't believe I'm even saying this, is Joe, which I have hated my entire life. But I was born on St. Joseph's Day, and I guess my Catholic parents couldn't think of anything better. So my mom still loves it, but I have disliked it my whole life. And I will pass to Ashley.
And who do we have?
Hello. Sorry, I'm not camera ready this morning, but my name is Ashley Patterson. I'm an associate professor at Penn State at the University Park campus, where I co-direct a social justice and education minor and also teach in the pre-K 4 teacher prep program in literacy. And my name, I'm a child of the 80s, and my mom got my name from The Young and the Restless. Ashley Abbott is still featured on that program, and she thought it would be a completely unique name that nobody else would have. So here we are. How about Jeannie, who just popped in?
So Jeannie, we're sharing our name, our role at our institution, and something about our first, middle, or last name. And we just need you to unmute. Luca, can you unmute her? Or no, maybe? I don't know. Can
I asked to unmute. Maybe Jeannie, if you're still working on it, we could go to Elizabeth first.
Oh, yeah. Yes, let's go to Elizabeth. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but okay, so I'm Jeannie Prahl. I'm from Keystone College. I'm an instructor there, the chairman of the education department and director of student teaching. Something about my first or last name. I was named after my mother, whose name was Jean. My father named me. And it bothered me when people called me Jean when I was growing up, because that wasn't my name. So I try to instill on teachers how important it is to be sure we get our students' names correct.
Yes. And is Elizabeth our last person? Did we hear? Yeah, we got Juliet. Yes.
So I am Sarah Elizabeth Diamond. I'm like Leah. I have my mom's first name, my grandmother's second name. So mom is Sarah. I'm actually Elizabeth, and that's what I go by. But I want to share with you. So my last name, maiden name, is Alley, like a back street. And then I got married to a Diamond. So whenever I got divorced, I decided to keep the Diamond.
Good thinking.
Because yeah, it starts more conversations. So thank you very much for asking.
Love it, love it, love it. And yes, as Jeannie pointed out, names are so important, right? There's always a story behind our names. I actually connect to Teresa's story. My mother gave me my middle name, Renee, because that was the name of the nurse that helped deliver me after 23 hours of labor. Yes. And Rochelle, she just liked the name. So I have two French names coincidentally, right? I've never been to France, neither has my mama. But anyway, naming is so important. I know some cultures that, they wait several days or weeks to name their children, right? For the person's essence to kind of show up and determine what they will be named. So I just did that little activity because I think if you actually thought about just how you were feeling as you recollected being named by others, or even for Lucas saying, listen, I named myself, right? I felt the power in that. Knowing that we have so many different stories that we bring into the classroom space is so important. What I found when I was working in education departments, either full-time or part-time as an adjunct, I often would be talking to colleagues who, when I talk about cultural competence or being culturally relevant, sustaining educators, they would actually ask me, are you talking about what I do with the students versus what I was asking them, which was that to model what we're asking students to do. Because again, how can we give anything that we don't have ourselves, right? Okay, well, just to move us along, I wanted to talk a little bit about those course revisions and the rationale, but just give you one last piece about myself and my history. So what I haven't shared with you is that I have been working in higher ed for over 35 years, either full-time as an administrator primarily and part-time as a adjunct faculty member. For over 15 years, I was adjuncting pretty consistently, and then sporadically prior to that, another 7 years. And my connection to PEDC is that I am one of the founding members, and I was on the acting circle of leaders for many years. And I decided that I actually was going to step away from that because I wanted to, when the opportunity to be a part of the community of practice that was established by PEDC, I wanted to focus in on the people who are currently in education right now, right? So you know that we have kind of like a two-pronged mission that PEDC focuses on increasing educator diversity, but we also focus on increasing cultural competence. And increasing cultural competence has been always where my heart has been, because I actually feel a little funny about trying to recruit people into spaces that I know are toxic, spaces that I know that could actually be causing harm. Although we don't have a choice right now, I just choose for my own personal energy to be focused on how can we help everyone that's in the spaces together now get better, get more culturally relevant, culturally responsive, justice-centered, and culturally sustaining educators to be those kinds of educators. Okay, so to my course revisions. I decided to focus in on the special education practicum. So I'm a university supervisor at LaSalle, and I focused on that practicum because I knew, well, one, I knew that was going to be the next course that I would be, supporting student teachers in. LaSalle has a 13-week experience in general education and a 13-week experience in special education for their dual majors, right? So dual majors in early elementary and special education. Things are shifting now that the regulations around special education have broadened. However, that's where the program has been operating for a very long time, that we have the dual majors. So, and I thought the special education would be a great place to start because we already have student teachers who are thinking about differentiating or meeting needs of individual learners, right? And so I chose this course for that reason, but also I am the most recent field director for LaSalle University. So, you know, I left that position in May 2022, and I thought I could bring a unique perspective um, to our community of practice, at least in the group I was in. I think we had a Monday group and a Tuesday group. In the Monday group, I think there was just myself and one other person that were either currently or in the past field directors. And the other field director was focused on a larger project and not a course per se. So I thought we could bring that unique perspective to our community and now into our wonderful CRSE repository. The challenge I took up was that I wanted to challenge myself to incorporate the CRSE competencies into a course that wasn't designed specifically for cultural competence. Okay, so my history as an adjunct was primarily teaching social justice centered courses at another institution. And when I was teaching in-service teachers, I taught cultural foundations of education. So I wanted to challenge myself because I felt like I couldn't help somebody else do it if I hadn't done it myself. And also I felt like I left some unfinished business at LaSalle. I envisioned the changes with the evidence of the outcomes met will be appealing to the current field director and the chair and others who will serve as university supervisors at the institution. So again, some unfinished business. And, you know, LaSalle, if you're not familiar, LaSalle University is a Catholic liberal arts institution. And right now, I would say that the competencies are not fully incorporated into the entire program at the institution. Okay. All right. I'm going to take you to the repository for a second. Does everyone see the repository?
We're not seeing it on your screen. I did put the link to your page in the chat, but we're not seeing it on your screen.
Oh, okay, you put it in the chat? Thank you. This is scaring me.
I don't see
Do you
anything
see it now?
Oh, okay. Yes.
You see it now?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. Excellent. All right. So my the special education practicum or the revisions that I made are here. Thank you, Luca, for putting that link in the chat. And you'll see that the course description, it's the pretty basic description of a student teaching course, basically. And here you'll find the initial syllabus and the revised syllabus. And I'm going to walk you through that a bit. I also shared my reflections as I was going through the process. And we will actually dig into my artifact, if you will. You'll find when you go to the general page for the repository, you'll see tiles and you actually have the ability to select or filter, right, based on whether you want to see a methods course or another type of course. We're under methods, and you'll be able to easily find us there as well when after this session. Okay. So back to our presentation. The original outcomes in the course that I believe were connected to the CRSE competencies already were identify the role of the school, identify the role of the school, that the role the school has, in relation to the community the school serves. I thought that that learning outcome had the potential to be connected to competency 3, connecting real world experiences, designing and facilitating culturally relevant learning that brings real world experiences into educational spaces, and connected to the competency 5, promoting asset-based perspectives about differences, particularly around sensitivity to the ways in which BIPOC learners and their families experience social and academic spaces, and finding ways to actually highlight their experiences as a resource for learning. I also thought that first outcome around the school's role in relation to the community was connected to competency 6. And that one speaks to collaborating with families and communities through authentic engagement. Now, folks, you need to know, I have been supervising the students and actually setting up their experiences for a while. While I believe these outcomes are connected to those competencies, it really depends on how you determine teach, right? Or how you determine to mentor the student teacher, because based on your orientation, you could interpret these and not actually meet the competencies. But I will say they were there already, okay? The next outcome, develop a developmental perspective that addresses the needs of all students. I felt that that was connected to the competency 4. And competency 4 speaks to providing equitable and differentiated opportunities for our students, to learn and succeed. And then the last 2, adjust the curriculum and methods of instruction to meet the needs of learners and differentiate lessons to meet the academic and social needs of special education and English language learners, is connected to both competency 4 and competency 8. These 2 outcomes relate to establishing high expectations for each learner and treating them as capable and deserving students for achieving success, as well as approaching them equitably, right? Giving them what they need, instead of thinking of students as people who we have to provide a one size fits all approach. Okay, so here are my additions. I added 2 outcomes to increase culturally relevant sustaining educator competency in 2 areas. So that was one area that I expect, as a result of my mentorship and instruction with student teachers, that is an addition, right? Increase their competency in 2 areas. And we'll talk in a minute about how we'll get there. Number 2, increase the knowledge of at least one cultural group represented in their classroom. Yes, this all gets to, what's on the Danielson around knowing who your students are. But I'm specifically asking them to increase their knowledge about a cultural group that is least familiar to them. Those were added. Then I adapted 4 of the outcomes that were listed on the original syllabus, right? So what you see in front of you, you'll see information that's bolded. The information that was bolded was added to an existing outcome. So the adaptation is to plan, implement, and evaluate effective lessons that target specific skills, knowledge of content, and incorporate multiple perspectives that capitalize on the learner's real world experiences, identities, and heritage. Okay. And number 2, deliver lessons based on identified curricular objectives, research-based instructional design practices, culturally relevant sustaining educational pedagogy, and other creative instructional methodologies. Number 3 and 4. So again, this one, number 3, this is primarily the same language that was used in the outcomes originally, but I removed something. So this one now states, prepare instructional plans to differentiate lessons based on the social, emotional, physical, and cognitive abilities of the individual students. It originally was written, prepare instructional plans to differentiate lessons based on an appreciation of social, emotional, physical, and cognitive abilities of individual students. Why did I remove that? 1, appreciation is vague and not measurable. Yes, so I removed that. This outcome written as such, I believe, leads you to understanding that you actually are going to have to know the social, emotional, physical, and cognitive abilities of the students, right? You're going to have to demonstrate that in your lessons, that you have that knowledge versus an appreciation, if you will. And in number 4, identify, access, and evaluate instructional resources, including but not limited to culturally responsive, relevant resources, and use these materials to assist in preparing for and delivering instruction. I wrote this in here, including but not limited to culturally responsive, relevant resources, because it's the original outcome does not speak to actually making your or using resources that would help you be a more culturally relevant, responsive educator. I'm going to stop there for a minute just to see if there are any questions. I know that was a lot of information. Does anybody have a question at this point? Anything in the chat? I see 2 messages. Okay, just welcome messages. Good stuff. Okay, so let's move to the assignments. So there were, I'll say there are 3 new elements added to the course. So in order to increase culturally relevant sustaining educator competency in 2 areas, we're going to administer a pre and post self-assessment so that students can tell us, the student teachers can tell us before they start student teaching, how they feel, how competent they feel in all of the 9 areas, okay, under each of the competencies. Now, this was originally designed in my process to just be a part of my syllabus, right? I was going to administer this as a supervisor. However, this summer, I was talking with the person who actually is the seminar instructor for the special education practicum semester, and we actually decided to collaborate, and now the pre and post assessment will be administered in the seminar. So that instructor is actually going to give the overview of the CRSE competencies, ask the students to assess themselves, and then those who I supervise, right? So he may have 20, 25 students, I might have 5 of them. Those that I supervise will have the outcome to increase 2 of their competencies through their field experience, okay? And also to meet that outcome, the students have a cultural or study project, which I'll explain a little further in a minute, And then also to the outcome of increasing their knowledge of one cultural group represented in the classroom, they will do this cultural study project. And finally, in order to effectively plan and implement and evaluate their lessons that target specific skills, knowledge, and content, and incorporate the multiple perspectives that capitalize on real-world experiences, identities, and heritages of their learners, I have added a requirement to the lesson plan. I don't have the ability, none of us have the ability to remove any requirements from the lesson plan, but we can add to it. Okay, it is a faculty university approved lesson plan, so we can't. The only adjustment is an addition versus taking anything away. Okay. All right, so the pre and post assessment, I explained that briefly already. We're just asking the students to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 3 around each indicator under each competency. So we're asking them to rate themselves of whether they do something rarely, where they demonstrate it rarely, some of the time, or most of the time. Yes, and we're looking to see adjustments in that or increases in anything that is a 1 or a 2 at the end of their student teaching process. So we've added that pre and post assessment. You can easily do that yourselves as well. We have, you have the 9 competencies written out. Literally, the scale is 1, 2, 3. The students will, create the columns, and you'll have the students just check off how they would assess themselves. Now, I, as the university supervisor, will take that back, and I will take that, review it with the student around the areas that rise up for me. Where do they have 1s and 2s? We're going to talk about those competencies and where would they like to focus in 2 areas. And why do I leave it at 2 areas? Because there could be 5, 6, 7 areas, who knows, right? 5, 6, 7 indicators under any of these competencies. But I feel, well, and I know that trying to really cram it all in their last semester or their last year is inappropriate. It's not fair to the student, right? But we can make improvements in 1 or 2 areas in a semester. I've seen it done over 15 years. Yes? All right, good stuff. Okay, the culture study project. I'm asking students to, again, first identify a culture, but what they will use to help guide their work initially is a cultural profile assignment. I'm asking them to find out what are the different races, genders, ethnicities, different ability levels, the different kinds of neighborhoods that their students are coming from, so they can get a picture of their students. And we're also going to work alongside their cooperating teacher to help them complete that profile. Yes. And then within all of those cultures that they've gathered, right? I refer to all of the different identity groups as cultures, right? So we're thinking of our race, our ethnicity, our gender, our sexual orientation, et cetera, our religious backgrounds, et cetera. I'm not asking them to ask sexual orientation, by the way, but if students volunteer it and volunteer their gender identity, that's a bonus, yes? It is not to be shared with anyone outside of the supervisor as well. And again, it is being used to inform what culture are they going to focus on. We're not going to focus on a culture that's not in their classroom at the time, okay? And then through journal entries, we also will, I also have them do some considerable reflection in their journal entries related to their culture of study in order to get them to increase their knowledge about particular groups that they didn't have a lot of information about, okay? And collaboration. I wanted just to point out the fact that this opportunity to shift my syllabus actually opened up spaces for collaboration. I would say I collaborated in the past, but this was a great opportunity to collaborate with a seminar instructor. When we started talking about what I was doing, the seminar instructor was like, wait a minute, I've been, I actually, they focus on, I think it's the FBA, right? In special education seminar. And the faculty member is actually going to look at integrating the competencies, particular competencies into his instruction. His name is Dr. Trent McLaurin, by the way. And he's going to actually take a discrit perspective or disability studies perspective, bringing that into the special education classroom. In terms of collaborating with the cooperating teacher, I felt that I know that the cooperating teacher can help the student with their cultural profile, and they will help them with the lesson planning. So when they add the multiple perspectives based on real world experiences and so on to the lesson plan. First of all, the cooperating teacher needs to sign off on their lesson plans each time, but for at least the 4 lessons that they will provide for me, I'm looking for them to add those perspectives in. Hopefully we get buy-in from individual cooperating teachers to help them incorporate it into every lesson that they provide. And as you know, or as most people on here probably know, there's a requirement that the student teacher is actually teaching full day, I think at least for 3 weeks, right? So they have many opportunities. In our program, they actually gradually take full control, and they gradually release full control. So they will have the opportunity from the beginning to slowly incorporate multiple perspectives based on their students' experiences, though, and their identities. They'll be able to do that from starting at week 3. And then really get to kind of gradually build it into their lesson planning fully. And then, of course, we're always collaborating with the student teacher, and myself, I am the university supervisor. So we have this opportunity now for all of us to collaborate.
Rochelle?
Okay. Yes.
So I don't know if you could see me or not, so I jumped in. Just to back up for a minute, regarding your assignment to learn about a particular one of the groups in the classroom. How do you handle it with student teachers who are in all white classrooms? And not that white students don't have culture, but often people forget. Often, the dominant group is just assumed that that's how they are, and but then once you disabuse them of this, then I think that white students might be Irish American and German American, and Irish, German, and Scottish, and right. So, how do you handle that?
Okay, I feel like I didn't grasp the question. You want me to tell you how I handle when it's all white, when they have only students who are white?
Right.
Or you have only students that are white?
No, when my student teachers are in classrooms that are only.
Yes. And so, again, all of those students have races, they have gender, genders, ethnicities, et cetera, right? And religions and so forth. And I do want them to work with what they have. But I think we find out, oh, there you moved. I think we find out also, that our students are multi-ethnic. They have, well, first of all, we all know that we all originated from Africa, so that's a whole nother thing. But I build on what they have. Okay. I don't want people to be contrived around it, but looking at not just lived experience, but what's happening in the globe, that is under one of the competencies. We should be moving, the student teacher should be looking at resources to help students critically think about engaging in a multicultural, multi-ethnic society that the United States of America is, but then also across the globe. Across the globe might be a stretch for someone, but we can definitely, in preparing them to be good citizens, we must ensure that they're looking at multiple races, genders, religions, etc. Okay, so
Rochelle,
for me, yeah, go ahead,
to
Juliet.
follow up on that, is there a particular tool or instrument or guidance that you're giving the student teachers about like how they go about learning more about their students' backgrounds? Are you expecting that they're counting on their cooperating teacher to give them insight?
Oh no, I want them. I'm not. So the cultural profile, like I'm giving them the shell of find out their races, ethnicities, etc. However, you need to find it out. So this is an opportunity to speak to families before and after school, right? Or during. The students, depending on their age too, right? You could ask this directly. They can, if you're in high school, the student could find out directly. For my course, because they're elementary, they won't be beyond grade 8. And so, but for the middle schooler, well, grade 3 and above, they can answer for themselves.
Right, right.
Yes, exactly. They can do it in an activity. I don't care how they get it. But I will give them, we'll brainstorm together about that. And that's where I was talking about the cooperating teacher, not them telling them, but helping them find ways to get it.
To solicit that information or gauge it. Great.
Right.
So the question I had, and that was building off of the direction that Paul took us. I guess the question I had that prompted me to raise my hand was about, do you find, and you're currently supervising student teachers, so you're currently working with some of this, I'm assuming. Okay. Do you find that although the students have identified these 2 areas for growth around the competencies themselves, do you see yourself at times providing them feedback? And is there an opportunity to provide feedback to them on the other areas where maybe their self-rating was higher or wasn't sort of showcasing like where they might be in a given moment based on what you've seen?
Yes. And I know that, I've been doing this forever, right? So I am prepared to do that. I'm not sure everyone is prepared to do that, but I would do that wherever we have, all of us are using, basically the PDE 430 form, right? And at LaSalle, we actually also use the Danielson rubric, which I think is a better guide, right? It's asking you to rate similar issues for the most part. It's just vaguer than what we have purported you need to know. We always have those opportunities through conferencing with our students after observations. Yes. You could also, it really depends on the resources at the institution. You could also train your cooperating teachers, but everybody doesn't have the resources to do that. Yes, I know I think it's East Stroudsburg, their field director had used it as a project and created an asynchronous training for their cooperating teachers to help support them as well. But yes, I would, I usually in real time have those kinds of conversations. So, and the journals reveal a lot. Okay, I wanted to share that, and let me see, we have 5 minutes. So definitely raise your hand if you want if you have a question. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking. I want to go to the repository. I want to go straight to my journal assignments. All right.
Rochelle?
Okay. Yes.
Can I ask a quick question? The
Please.
journals that you're referring to,
Mhm.
this is when the students do a journal entry for during their student teaching experience.
Correct.
From your standpoint, who is that journal shared with? Like, is
Journal
that
entries?
yourself as a
Mhm.
supervisor? Is
Yes, only.
is the cooperating teacher also have, or no? Okay,
Yeah. Nope.
okay.
Nope.
Okay.
And so if, yeah, like that idea of the students taking ownership. Yes, Juliet. So they definitely take ownership. I don't see your whole, okay. I don't see your whole message, Juliet. But again, the students do write their reflections on their practice for the most part, right? That's generally the requirement or the purpose of the journaling. However, each university supervisor can ask students to do different journals, different type, or have different prompts. So can everybody see? Oh, geez. I want you to
Yeah, we can
view
see your journal assignments and kind of unit plan
assignments.
there.
Great. Great. Okay. So I have an article that they're going to read. They're going to review week 1 about introspection. And again, that's helping them prepare for the type of introspection I'm expecting in their journaling. And this is a basic assignment that using the TED Talk Danger of a Single Story. Many people have used it already, but this is just one sample of what you could do with the students. To ask them about what groups they have a single story about. Journal 2, I asked them to socially locate themselves, right? Think about how they grew up, what language and dialects were spoken in their home, their religions, and so forth. And here's the beauty of this. As they are doing an activity like this is something they can transfer age appropriate into their classroom to find out about their students. Yes? Okay. And journal 3, I'm going to ask them about their self-assessment, right? To describe one example of how they already meet the 2 competencies that they're focusing on for the semester, and describe how they need to improve on 2 competencies. And we will use that as a springboard for discussion. I also have them reflecting before their first lesson plan is due about different cultural heritages, real world experiences, and identities that they want to integrate into their lesson. Now that's where they can bring in other perspectives. They don't have to be focused on those represented in their classroom. They have a student choice day, write about what they want. I do that at least twice in the semester. I think they need some breathing room. One of the journals is using a bias detector activity where I'm actually showing them how to identify bias in instructional materials. I'll also have them describe and analyze 2 of the sources that they will use for their culture of study. I will provide them with resources based on the cultures that they identify as well. I just feel like, sure, we can put some of it on them. We can put the resource, finding the resources on them, but we also can share resources that we already have, or I can point them to other repositories of information. They won't They will have a break from journaling 1 week, and then, excuse me, again, analyzing 2 sources, preparing for their lesson plan. Again, same instructions, no journal. And then the final one, I'm asking them to look for connections they can make in regard to how one might contribute to being and growing as an anti-oppressive educator, which is what we're asking people to do. And then finally, they'll complete their post-assessment.
Thanks, Rochelle. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Leah, do you have a very quick question?
Really quick, the post-assessment, is that also done at one of the seminars?
Yes, so yes, because we decided to collaborate, the seminar instructor will administer it, and then at the beginning of the semester and at the end.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rochelle, and everyone for your questions. I put a link in the chat to a form where you can provide feedback and thoughts for Rochelle, as well as connect with her for ongoing coaching support that she'll be able to offer through her participation in the community of practice. So if you are interested in some thought partnership or help with any of this or thinking through things, please fill out that feedback form. I'll send it in an email as well after this. And we will be in touch to connect you. So we really appreciate your time and your feedback through that forum.
Thank you.
Yes, and Luca, if I just may say, I would hope that those who would like to coach, be in a group together, I hope people would like to be in a group together. My thought was we can establish a time where we can literally learn from each other in my coaching session. So just keep that in mind. You can get coached by any one of the faculty who have revised their courses in the community of practice, but I'm trying to save us time and also optimize on that time by learning from other people as well.
Thanks, Rochelle.
And thank you. And
Thank
Luca
you.
and Juliet, thank you for the opportunity, the structure.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all of your background information, expertise, experience.